Sonic the Hedgehog, you all know who he is. And I'm sure you also know that Sonic games haven't had the best track record for over a decade. But I'm not here to talk about those ones, I'm here to talk about the first two games on the Genesis. Why? Because it's 2017 and I'm still seeing arguments about whether they're actually good or poorly designed. I hear complaints that for a game that's about speed, they sure punish you for going fast. Is that true? I'm Canetroller, and let's take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2. Before we jump right into it though, I'd like to talk a little bit about Sega's marketing in the 90s. Sonic was, and still is, the mascot of Sega, and was basically the counterpart to Nintendo's Mario. So obviously, Sega would have wanted to market the Sonic the Hedgehog games as being better than the Mario games, and they did that by emphasizing the speed. Sonic is faster than Mario, going fast is cool, going slow is not. Once you start playing Sonic the Hedgehog, everything else seems a little bit slow, etc, etc. Interesting. Anyway, with that in mind, let's actually look at the games now, starting, of course, with the first. I don't think I need to explain much about how Sonic works. You press the control pad to move him, and he quickly accelerates to a pace that's enjoyable, but makes it difficult to react to what's ahead. Whether or not this is a problem depends on how the rest of the game is designed, of course, but we'll get to that in just a bit. Sonic's control is very momentum-based, where sloped terrain will heavily affect his velocity and his jump arcs, and this is where a lot of the fun you get out of Sonic comes from. Downhill slopes allow you to accelerate to ridiculous speeds, and the whole thing is like a roller coaster. It's a thrill. But do the levels actually complement these mechanics? What I find somewhat odd is the fact that the very first zone gives you a significantly wrong impression of the rest of the game. The first zone allows you to run rampant. It even encourages it via its level design and throwing invincibility power-ups at you left and right, allowing you to blow through everything. You occasionally have to worry about spikes, but for the most part, you have enough time to react to them, and they're not really a big deal thanks to the invincibility things being everywhere. This part of the game is fun, and it may just be showcasing what you can technically do in this game, but it's severely misleading for the rest of the levels. You know, most of the time when I see videos complaining about Sonic 1, the player gets killed during later stages trying to rush through everything constantly with reckless abandon and then blames the game for not having level design that complements running fast constantly. When the game starts like this and you've gotten it beaten to your head that Sonic is about speed via its advertising, it's not too hard to see why. In any case, there are ramps and loops and hills everywhere, allowing you to roll around and enjoy the rush. And then you get to the fight with Dr. Robotnik. If you fly in with a hurry, get him attitude without paying mind to anything else, you're gonna get hit. And it's your fault. It's as if he's serving as a warning for the rest of the game. Anyway, after you beat Green Hill Zone, you get to the Marble Zone, which is incredibly anti-speed. I will say that the nice thing about this stage is that its design actually makes a considerable effort to give you a wake-up slap and say, hey, you can't go fast here. You're gonna want to blow through the level like you did the first one, but the terrain actually stops you and forces you to be patient to get by. At the very least, it doesn't sucker you into going fast only to punish you for it. If this doesn't beat it into your head that you're not supposed to rush, then I don't know what will. It's okay to make us slow down and do some platforming every once in a while. It's not okay when that platforming is boring, however. There's a lot of waiting in this level, whether you're standing on a block as it crosses some lava, or you're standing around waiting for the spiky platforms to fall so you can jump on them. You also have to be really patient and stop and look up to see if there's any danger ahead. It's a stark contrast to the stage just before it. And it's not really a bad thing, but one of the annoying things about this level is that no matter how good you get at this game, you can't really move at your own pace here. You have to move at the pace the game is set for you, and there's really nothing enthralling about it. The level's not terrible, but it feels pretty dull. Either way, after you get past it, you're in the Spring Yard Zone. And what do you know, the stage has several opportunities to use the mechanics in fun ways. There are slopes for you to safely slide down and you end up bouncing like a pinball everywhere. Even when you're at parts where there are spike balls down the slopes, they actually have an easily recognizable pattern, so you can still move quickly while dodging them. I enjoy timing my jumps to sling myself out of these pits at just the right moment too. There are opportunities to earn speed in ways without trial and error, and they're fun. Which makes it all the more perplexing why they added really boring platforming segments to this level. I don't get what they were going for here. Who thought this was entertaining? Perhaps it was just padding. Something that bothered me about this level when I played it is the fact that previously, we were only introduced to spikes and lava. This is the level in which they decided to introduce bottomless pits, and not in a very convenient way. You'd think if they were going to do that, they'd do so on a level that's meant to be done more slowly. Instead, they give you the perfect opportunity to cheaply rocket yourself into one. The next level is the Labyrinth Zone, which is infamous for being the water level. I actually don't hate water levels, but I can see why people don't often like this one. Similarly to the Marble Zone, your pace is cut significantly, and you're offered almost no opportunities to take advantage of Sonic's unique mechanics. Momentum doesn't really exist in this level. I don't think it's that bad though. I mean, it's just careful platforming and being cautious about your environment, but again, I understand why people don't like it. It's another situation in which you're stuck moving at the game's pace, which is not objectively bad, but it's not typically what people play Sonic for, is it? It's not that much more fascinating than the Marble Zone, really. Stage 5 is the Starlight Zone, which has a lot of moments where they actually let you have fun going fast. You get a lot of hills that lead to loops that eventually roll into ramps, which send you sailing upward. The ramps are great because they make it obvious when a speed segment is supposed to end and allow you to gradually fall to a slower pace in preparation of a part of the level that's more platform-oriented. However, the stage is also where very common complaints about Sonic in general begin to show, namely the issue that the game punishes you for going fast. First off, the game rocketing me into a pit right after one of the first loops was a big slap in the face. Not only was it a cheap death, but it made me more paranoid for the rest of the speed segments. Second, enemies in the stage are either impossible to strike or extremely difficult to. This makes speed more of a non-option since you can't really defend yourself by rolling. Of course, whether this is really a problem or not depends on where the designers decided to place the enemies. There are occasions in which the enemy is placed right after a ramp, so you can clearly see them as you're slowing down. However, there are also instances in which enemies or dangers are put after straightaways or hills going down, which are places where you can't help but naturally build speed. In a game like Mario, speed is controlled because it's designated to a button. In Sonic it isn't, so the player is forced to start spastically tapping the D-pad out of paranoia to prevent themselves from running because there could be something dangerous there. This makes the mechanics feel unnatural for the design of the game, because you're constantly fighting with them. Unfortunately, there are also a lot of parts of this zone that require speed to get past, so if you do have the patience to trudge along extra carefully, you'll have to backtrack when you reach a ramp to gain enough momentum. It's more tedious than fun. The main issue here is that the level design does a poor job conveying to you whether you need to be moving quickly or you shouldn't be at all. The boss fight here is fun though. Finally, we reach the Scrap Brain Zone, which I think is probably my least favorite level in the game. Like the Marble and Labyrinth zones, this place is extremely anti-speed. However, the difference is that the design doesn't complement this in the same way. Instead of being designed so that it just doesn't let you go fast, Scrap Brain Zone consists of areas that punish you for going fast. Marble Zone has terrain that consists of a lot of ledges, slow-moving platforms, and vertical sections that stop you from building momentum in the first place. Labyrinth Zone, consisting mostly of water, hampers your speed altogether. Scrap Brain Zone has a ton of straightaways that lead into things that kill you. Again, this forces you to just tap the D-pad repeatedly so you only go at a moderate pace, and even when you do that, there are still things that will swing out of nowhere and hit you. It's very frustrating and not very fun. I don't have a problem with the slower platforming. I mean, most of it is actually pretty cool and requires a lot of skill. Instead, I have a problem with stuff like this. I have to say though that the ring mechanic is awesome. It's an ingenious thing for Sonic in that it rewards the player for avoiding damage while not punishing the player too much when they do get hit. Too bad it seems like it was used as an excuse to throw out cheap shots. So, really, the original Sonic the Hedgehog wasn't all about speed. If you try to blast through the entire game without slowing down, you're going to die. The game isn't flawed because it's not 100% about going fast. It's flawed because it has too many segments that naturally facilitate speed, only for them to directly lead into something that punishes speed, and also for the fact that most of its slower segments are boring. Does that make it terrible? Nah, but it had its issues. And you gotta start somewhere, right? When you got a new concept, it takes time to realize its full potential. This was just the first Sonic game, and it laid the groundwork for Sonic 2. So let's take a look at that one and see what they actually improved. First off, they introduced the Spin Dash, which allows you to rev up and bolt away at high speeds pretty much whenever you like. This is huge. It means that if you're moving cautiously and come across a section that requires speed, you can instantly attain it. Not only that, but it makes things like straightaways much safer. You can't help but build speed on these anyway, so if there happens to be an enemy at the end of it, launching yourself forward as a ball will keep you safe while still allowing you to progress quickly. And that's the key thing here. It allows you to gain your speed and keep it safely. You could bring up the fact that it doesn't protect you against certain enemies like those fire guys, as well as environmental hazards, death pits, and things that will crush you. But the thing is, Sonic 2 is so much better in regards to the placement of all of those things. It tends to put enemies and hazards right after sections that slow you down, such as ramps or platforming segments, so that they still present a threat to you, but you can see them coming. Sometimes you'll notice that an obstacle has been deliberately placed where it is for the sole purpose of stopping you before danger. Hazards like lava will almost always have one in front of them so that you don't go unknowingly charging right into them. There are also a lot of things that exist to give you a moment to react before danger hits, such as collapsible ledges, the chickens in the Wing Fortress zone, and the Sea of Oil in the Oil Ocean zone. Even if you smack into them without knowing they were there, you're given a fair chance to react and move. This makes platforming more dynamic, while still giving you the rush that most people enjoy from Sonic. I'd really like to point out as well the severe lack of death pits in this game. It's far less punishing on players who don't know the layout of the stage and when they use their speed at quote-unquote the wrong time. Instead, levels tend to consist of several layers, meaning that there are multiple routes and alternate paths to take throughout the level. Using your speed when it isn't convenient won't drop you into a pit where you just die. It'll instead drop you to a different part of the level, which is usually less ideal, such as the bottom of the Aqua Ruin Zone being filled with water. This is far more fair toward new players. Also, the levels were made to be far more varied compared to the first game, which spices up the platforming tremendously. There's just much more substance to it, and the puzzles are more naturally integrated into the design of the levels as to not completely destroy the flow of the game. You don't have to stop and push a block onto a switch to make a platform rise slowly anymore. All of these changes result in a platforming experience that's much richer than the first Sonic with way less cheap deaths, and allows everyone to enjoy playing the game without having to memorize everything while still rewarding experienced players with different routes to take. Sonic's mechanics feel much more natural in tandem with the design of the levels. So yeah, I think Sonic 2 made a ton of improvements over the first game. Does that mean it's perfect? No. There are still a few instances in which the compliments I just paid don't really apply. It doesn't happen often, but you can get cheap shot, like that damn water thing at the end of Chemical Plant Zone Act 1 that comes right after a hill. Ugh. There are also the seahorses in Oil Ocean Zone, which shoot at you before they're even on screen. And of course, everyone knows about that stupid pit in the Mystic Cave Zone. And then there's Metropolis Zone. Metropolis Zone is just one giant dick. For some reason, the designers decided to take most of the improvements I was just mentioning and throw them out the window for this level. Now you're back to twitching across the stage again because they thought it was a good idea to put enemies you can't roll into in cheap places. Sometimes you just get thrown into them as well. Like, how is that even my fault? Then there's the starfish. These things slowly move and then blow spikes in 5 different directions. Sometimes. I actually don't have that much trouble with them since you just kind of have to watch them carefully, but either way, this level sucks. I'd say it's the only level in Sonic 2 to which the complaint that the game punishes you for going too fast truly applies. The final platforming stage, the Wing Fortress Zone, is also meant to be taken more slowly, but at least its design makes it pretty freaking obvious, and speed segments are separated from platforming segments so you don't get pressured into using your speed and then unfairly punished. However, the final stage, the Death Egg Zone, is bullshit. They don't give you any rings, so learning the patterns is just trial and error where the wrong guess means you die. Metropolis Zone and Death Egg Zone, I would say, are extremely ham-fisted attempts at making things difficult toward the end. They're flawed, yes, but they don't ruin Sonic 2. It's a really fun game that doesn't allow the argument that it doesn't let you go fast to truly hold up because it's good at letting you know when you're supposed to be going fast or not. It's just those last few things that I mentioned that are bullshit. Being able to zoom through at high speeds and roll all over the place is a blast, whether you like learning the levels so you can fly through even the slower parts without stopping, or you're like me and simply find the mechanics and platforming satisfying. You can enjoy it. It just gives you a thrill that not too many games capture, especially not back then. If this kind of gameplay doesn't appeal to you, then that's okay, but I'll always enjoy bouncing around the Casino Night Zone. Oh, Casino Night Zone, what's going on? Here I go, I'm bouncing to and fro. Got dozens of rings, feel invincible. No matter where I'm at, I'm staying alive. I feel a rush from bright neon lights. And so you see, I'm feeling so lucky. These slot machines ain't got a thing on me. And if you're wondering if I'll survive, I see my life flash before my eyes, but I just keep on moving along. Thank you for watching. Hi everybody, thanks for watching my video. If you want to see more from me, I've got a goofy video about a game where you eat balls. Otherwise, there'll be more content coming soon. See ya!